Welcome to Mastering the Medium Best Practices in Immersive Mobile Qual. My name is Steve August, and I'm the founder and CEO of Revelation in Portland, Oregon in the U.S. Very happy to be here to talk to you today. I have with me as well Elizabeth MacLaughlin.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm the Client Services Manager here at Revelation.
And today, we're excited to talk to you about the brave new world that is mobile and how it applies specifically into immersive qualitative research. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about is really how you integrate mobile into your practice, how it fits with other qualitative approaches. And we'll talk about it conceptually, and then we're going to go and go through a case study that illustrates how mobile can be leveraged together with other research mediums. And you'll notice I used the word medium, and medium was in the title. And that's because essentially mobile is a medium more than a methodology in itself. In a sense, it's another way another technology that can carry research. So if you think about it, a survey is still a survey, whether it's on a PC, a piece of paper, or on a mobile device. So it's really a medium to work with people. It's an interaction medium in a sense. And really what we see right now is there's three main mediums that are in use, and that is in qualitative, that's in person, the PC, what's now the traditional online, and now in an exciting development, of course, is the world of mobile. Now, the thing to think about with mediums is that there is no good or bad with mediums. It's just that each medium has its strengths, and as researchers, we want to leverage those strengths to our best effect. So face-to-face as a medium is great for that real-time interaction and observation. There's really nothing better than it. However, it's limited in terms of how long you can sustain that observation and how long you can sustain that and your geographic reach. Well, online is great at speed, reach, and depth. You can get anywhere in the world and really get in depth with people, stay with them over a period of time, and get access to experiences and feelings and emotions as they're happening, and with a reach that is just amazing. And now mobile takes that to the next level, and really this is about getting even further into the moment with people. You can access their moments of decision, their moments of behavior in a way that essentially the way we think of it is the final 5 yards into the checkout aisle, into the restaurant, into wherever they are. So the question that we have then is, how can mobile help our mission? And what is our mission? And well, in market research, our mission is essentially to understand people to answer business questions. That's what we do. And in order to do that, we want to understand, to do that fully, especially in the qualitative realm, we really want to understand what's the experience, what's really happening at ground truth. And that can be broken down, consumer experiences can be broken down essentially into three layers of experience. You have your behavioral layer, what people do, and of course this is what we're really most interested in because that's what we want to impact. But you can't really truly understand behaviors unless you understand the context in which they happen, so whether it's an environment or a process or a life, that is crucial to understanding the behavior, as is the emotions that drive people that impact those behaviors. So if you can capture the emotions, context, and behaviors, you are able to really get a 360-degree view of what's going on. And in the online world, and this is something that we've really done a lot of work on, is different mediums require adjustments in terms of how you interact with people because they have different ways, different strengths. So how you interact with somebody face-to-face is different than how you interact with them online and via the mobile medium. However, what we've seen is that the asynchronous online idea of activity-based research, of going, instead of asking a lot of questions, but giving people an activity and pointing those specific activities at levels of consumer experiences is really effective, and it really can get you at the different layers. So in behaviors, it's a lot about diaries and journals. In context, it's tours, photo and video show me, things like deprivations. And emotions are great in terms of activities are great, projective exercises, image metaphors, personification, and storytelling. Using this idea of activities, you can really open people up in different ways, and it really is an adaptation of method to medium. And this is what we want to add the mobile to. So in terms of going mobile, the goal is to get as close to those actual interactions and experiences as possible. And so what mobile does, especially on the behavioral level, because the behavioral level is the one where we really want to be with them wherever these events take place, in the aisle, on the way to work, wherever. And so mobile is an important new addition to our palette of tools. So what we're going to talk about now is, okay, that's the overriding conceptual level of how mobile fits in. Now we're going to talk about a mixed medium case study where all three mediums are in play, and we're going to see how mobile was able to add so much to the table. And Elizabeth is going to take us through this wonderful case study.
Thanks, Steve. This is a fantastic case study and really illustrates everything we've just gone over in concept very, very well. Exploring the world of dads. The overarching question was, how do you get to know the role of a dad in household purchases? This was a question that our colleague John McNeil had and was planning to answer for his client. The client was a forward-thinking internet company. Just to introduce John. John of Hunter Qualitative Research is a product, brand, and communication consultant for clients like Microsoft, Pepsi, Target, and Yahoo. So what John really wanted to do was design a mixed methodology study to extract the right information at the right time from 8 dads, their families, and the dad's network of friends. So the study was broken up into 4 phases across 2 cities, Portland, Oregon, and Chicago, Illinois. And the target market included dads of children aged 3 or younger, and it was a mix of some participants that had iPhones so that they could do the mobile piece at the time, and another half that did not have iPhones. And the duration was to go over 3 weeks using this mixed methodology. So here we can see that the desktop-based activities address the emotional and contextual layers of consumer behavior. And then the mobile piece was folded in to address the behavioral layer. So the interesting thing about this study is that we had this control group of non-mobile users. So we actually got to see the difference in detail and richness between those doing the behavioral in-the-moment piece on their mobile phones, in the moment, in the store, versus coming back and reporting their behavior after the fact. And the overarching finding there was that the mobile activities were much richer and detailed, and John really felt like he was in the aisle, in the store with the participants. So in addition, John also was folding in some in-person work with the dads and their families and friends. So as you can see here, we had all these different modes of interaction going on throughout the duration of the study. And here is the timeline that the study ran over. And as you can see, the early part of the study really tackled the context and the emotion in a short 3-day period, getting into the warm-ups, welcomes, you as a dad, and shopping involvement pieces. And then the next 2.5 weeks focused exclusively on the behavioral diary. which is where the participants were able to either take their iPhones out into their shopping experiences with them, or for those that didn't have the iPhone, come back and report their daily shopping experiences. So what we wanted to learn. To deep dive a little bit further into the description of the project, John's client had recently completed a quantitative study on men's roles in household purchases across categories. It was called Digital Dads. And the quantitative findings had indicated that dads today have an increasing influence on purchases in categories such as consumer packaged goods and health and apparel, all categories that traditionally view women as their main targets. So he knew that the qualitative work would add color and depth to the quant results. So he wanted to do in-depth, in-context conversation with American dads going through these changes. He wanted to answer, who are these men? What are their lives like? What are their roles in their family structure? What categories and purchases are they starting to influence, and how has this recently changed or is currently changing? Who do they listen to? Where do they get their information? And how the internet is specifically perhaps playing a part in their research. And finally, what does this mean for brands that are looking to connect with them? So here is an illustration of our key players. We had 4 groups. The first are newer dads with children under 1 year old. Then we had stay-at-home dads who may or may not be working but have decided or moved into the role of being the primary homemaker and caretaker. We have the dad archetype, the sort of 1950s nuclear 9-to-5 dad, and they were the control group, so to speak. And then we had our final category, the dads making less than moms category, illustrated here by David and Courtney. And this was really in response to some of the statistics around more men losing their jobs recently or receiving pay cuts, more so than women at the time the study was running. So as John finessed his mixed methodology piece, he was really going for the 360-degree view of everything he was doing. So he created multiple interactions in a variety of settings, and this really speaks to what Steve was talking about with the mediums and the methods, was using appropriate mediums for each piece. His in-person work involved 3 separate meetings with each dad, first alone, and then with family around, and then with peers. All of the dads were picked to ensure well-spoken and captivating interviews. And then he moved into the online piece, the activities that targeted the contextual and emotional layers of behavior, and then finally the mobile in the moment, ongoing diaries. And what was really cool about why the mobile worked and really helped the 360-degree view shine is that he found that the mobile app was able to really get him in the aisle with his participants. So those of his participants that were able to actually use their mobile phones to describe their in-the-moment behavior to him, he just got really, really rich feedback from that. And there were a couple of stories that came out of this to illustrate. The first was a story about our dad, Neil, Neil's dentist story. And so Neil was in Toys R Us after having taken his daughter to get her first cavity. And Toys R Us was a reward for being so good at the dentist. And he was looking at this snow leopard toy pictured here and trying to make this decision about whether to buy it because it was priced at $50 in the store, and he was able to use a barcode scanning app to price compare, which was actually the first time he used anything like this. So here he is in the moment telling John about this piece. And he actually was able to find a cheaper price compare, but he ended up going ahead and purchasing the toy in the store because of the moment being so much about making sure that his daughter came home with something as a reward for being so great at the dentist and going through something pretty traumatic. So John really felt like Neil's story wouldn't have been recounted as well if it was from memory as it was by the fact that he was able to use mobile device to actually describe what was going on right in that very moment. A second story was Edward, who had been tasked by his wife to find a baby lotion in the store. And he gets there, and he's standing in the aisle, and he's struggling because he's looking at two products that to him look totally identical. But he knows he has to choose one over the other, and he can't recall which one's the right one. So he went through this whole process of taking pictures of each of the items and reporting why this is so confusing, and he can't figure out. He doesn't know what to do because he doesn't really want to call his wife. He doesn't know who to ask in the store. And finally, he ends up having to call his wife. So this was a story that just his entire emotional gamut of going through this decision-making process was recorded right there in the moment. So the findings, there's a new man in town, and the impact of the economy has altered familial roles for many couples and has also shifted cultural norms around families with newborns and distribution of caretaking goals. So not only that, but men are actually relishing the greater involvement in their families, and they're becoming much more involved in household making decisions and are definitely more involved in traditionally mom-focused categories.
So this case study really gives you a sense of how the mobile medium can be leveraged together with the in-person, because they did in-person interviews as well, and the PC medium, all working together, leveraging the best strengths. So when he went into the in-person visits, they were able to talk and observe with not just the fathers, but the families, other family members as well. PC gave them a lot of depth in terms of identity and depth in terms of what their connection to shopping was, and then the mobile got that in the moment. And so what you see here is really the best practice in our world. It's not necessarily about how you can get mobile into everything. It's like how can you leverage each medium, and particularly in this case, how can you leverage mobile for its strengths, and that in the moment, and that's how you want to best utilize it. And thinking about it, the moments tend to be short. The person's doing something besides responding to a research activity. They're trying to figure out the best price or whether it's worth it in that case, which is a beautiful moment where, it wasn't about price. It was really about, this was a moment between him and his daughter, and a few dollars here and there was not worth sacrificing that moment. And then where the baby oil or the oil was kind of a different exercise, and you got that, and that's an amazing nuance to be able to really access. So the great thing about mobile, though, is that the story doesn't have to end at that moment either. After the capture, you can have them bring it back, and then use that as the start of the conversation. So you've got the great moment. You go back and say, "Hey, tell me more about that. Was it really? Why is that moment so important? What's going on there?" Because in there's messaging gold to be had in terms of how you approach dads and how they and what shopping means to them. So that's our key three best practices: leverage mobile for its strengths, keep them short and simple, and use this as the start of the conversation. Use record, then reflect. You can move between the different mediums and to amazing effect. So with that, we're happy to open it up to questions. And again, it was wonderful to be able to talk a little bit about the wonderful world of mobile.